Hi everyone, today I wanted to elaborate on the notes that you should have taken on the front of this energy pyramid that you made. So on this foldable, there are a few key terms here. There's 6 of them that you should have used the Prezi that I have over here on this screen to fill in the descriptions for all of these terms. So from producer all the way to detritivore. I just wanted to go over a few extra things. This video won't be very long, but feel free to stop it at any time if you want to continue to fill in your energy pyramid. So a food web or a food chain really shows feeding interactions between organisms. There's obviously a lot of other interactions, but the way that energy flows through an ecosystem is primarily shown through food webs and food chains. A food chain is a way of showing how the energy from food flows through populations of organisms in a community. So within an ecosystem, you have interactions, feeding interactions between organisms. This energy pyramid or food chain really, over here on the screen I have an example of a food chain, is showing how energy flows from one organism to another, from producers, in other words, those producers of energy, all the way up to the consumers of them, like a carnivore, let's say. Typically, whatever organism is at the top of the food chain here, that's our top predator. One thing that food chains don't always show is the scavengers and detritivores that are responsible for decomposing and usually are the last users of energy within an ecosystem or a food chain in this case. Also, an energy pyramid, or really an ecological pyramid, is a way of showing how energy moves through different trophic levels. Trophic level is actually one of the words down here on the bottom that I wanted you guys to fill in. A trophic level is really just a step in the food chain. It's the level of producer or consumer. So you have a producer and then a primary consumer of that producer. Typically, it's an herbivore. That level is a trophic level in the food chain. Energy pyramids in general show the amount of energy or matter that is within a ecosystem. And there's this thing called the 10% rule. I wrote it here off on the side in red. That way I would remember that the 10% rule shows the energy being used up as you move up the energy pyramid. So if we had 100% energy being made from producers at the bottom of the food chain or the energy pyramid here, the next step up, the next trophic level, gets about 10% of that energy. And then the next step up gets 10% of the energy from this trophic level, and so on and so forth until you get to the top when you have very little energy that's being taken from the next trophic level down. So I have a couple of questions to help guide what I mean by the 10% rule. So number one, you could answer this on a piece of separate paper if you would like, or maybe somewhere down here where you have these words that we're defining. If there were 1,000 calories available at the producer level, so here, of this energy pyramid, how many calories are going to be available 3 levels up, or on the tertiary level, trophic level of this energy pyramid? My second question that I have for you guys to think about is, why do you think there's usually fewer organisms in the top levels of the energy pyramid? So you notice that at the top of this energy pyramid, it's a very little triangle. Also, if we had fewer of these trophic levels, you would see probably the top predator, which is usually a carnivore, the top of an energy pyramid. So in general, most of the organisms in an ecosystem fit in this first trophic level. So there's usually many, many more producers than there are top predators or carnivores. Why do you think that there usually is fewer organisms at the top levels of the energy pyramid as you go up? So some things to think about before class next time. We are going to go over some more of this in our next class, but I would like for you guys on your own to fill in these extra sides. So on this side here, I would like for you guys to write down how these things, so like how an herbivore or a producer, I have an example of the producer on the side, how a producer is getting their food. In the case of a producer, their energy is coming from using solar energy to produce sugars or using photosynthesis to make energy for all the other organisms in the food chain above it. Also, on the next side, I would like for you guys to write in an example of each type of consumer or producer down here on the bottom. That way you have an example of the types of organisms that could fit into each one of these trophic levels. All right, I'll leave you with that. I will see you next time in class.